Finished his.
So y'all are straight.
That's right.
Okay, we will call to order the meeting for the Shenandoah City Council held Wednesday, December 15th, 2021 at 7 p.m. Call the roll and notice that everybody is here. We're going to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd like to stay standing with us, I'm going to say a quick invocation.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Dear Lord, we come before you tonight, and more than any other time throughout the course of the year, we say thank you for your gifts of grace, for love, for forgiveness. During this time of Christmas season, we hope to remember that that's why we come together as a community. You called us to come together as a community. You called us to love each other, to love thy neighbor, and to work together to honor you. So that's what we're going to do here tonight. We're going to work our hardest as we make our way through this agenda to honor you, and we appreciate the fact that you love us despite the fact that oftentimes we'll make mistakes and we're not perfect. We pray these things in your Son's name, and all God's people said, Amen. Amen. Okay, well, good evening, everybody. Love it when we have folks here. It's always good. We are going to move right into item 5, which is Citizens Forum. And I did have a couple of people sign up to speak. So first person I'll call to the stand is Ray. And just keep in mind that we hear you. We appreciate your comments. We can't deliberate with you. But citizens are invited to speak for 3 minutes on topics that are agenda related or non-agenda related. We appreciate you being here. Just do me a favor, speak into the microphone for the folks on YouTube. State your name and your address.
Okay. Hi, my name is Ray Orsak. I live at 31 South Emery Bend Place. Thanks for this opportunity to come and speak to council tonight. Tonight I just want to address the agenda item concerning the proposed revisions to the policy manual, specifically the section on dismissal, where it's being proposed to remove the requirement for a terminated employee to receive written notification documenting the why and when of their dismissal. So just looking at that initial question comes to mind, like what's the motivation for this change in policy? I hope we want to maintain openness and transparency on why a city employee would be terminated. My understanding is such info in a personnel file is generally considered to be public information under the Texas Public Information Act. Now, another change or proposed change in the policy I saw was to discontinue the requirement to promote from within the police department. And so just kind of looking at these two together, first kind of like seemed kind of a bit of a interesting mix, or kind of odd, like one door is kind of being open easier to send people out, another door being open easier to bring other people in. So the main thing I just want to ask, I don't really know all the motivations for this. Main thing I just want to note that's kind of odd, some of this, and I'm just asking council to treat this very carefully and basically ensure that we maintain transparency, fairness, and effectiveness in personnel matters. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our second citizen that signed up tonight was Esther Lum. Esther?
Esther Lum, 31 South Emery Bend, Mayor, Council. Tonight, I want to discuss a couple of public safety issues. A few weeks ago, I drove down Wellman Road at about 3:15 in the afternoon. and I was appalled to see nearly 40 cars lined up along the eastbound shoulder waiting for students to get out of school. I did a little research, and I discovered that this issue was actually discussed here for 10 minutes in the September 22 council meeting. It was not on the agenda, but it came up during the council inquiry. It started at the 29-minute mark, in case anyone wants to review it. I was puzzled by some of the comments, such as, "It's a school zone, you're supposed to drive slow. Speed is not the issue. This is about public safety, where you have multiple cars crammed on the shoulder and infringing into the lane space, as well as blocking the sidewalks." So I'm requesting that this Wellman Road congestion issue be placed on the agenda for the next council meeting in January for these following reasons. Number one, contrary to what was said at the meeting, this is not a 20-minute problem. Okay, I mean, and I'm not just speaking for myself. There's many people in my neighborhood of Cantwell Forest that are very dismayed about what they've experienced. Second, the option of using the city pool parking lot, which, by the way, has well over 70 parking spaces, should be studied by Public Works and not summarily dismissed as it was in that meeting. Comments were made that the entryway to that parking lot was too narrow, in which case I say, why not consider widening it? The pool is only open during the summer, so there should be little or no overlap with the school season. The school could pave the large grassy area to the right of their existing parking lot. I just don't accept the statement that was made during that September meeting that the only way to fix this problem is to widen Wellman Road. That's just not acceptable to me. So this issue is a concern to many residents, and it attracted a lot of attention on social media, which I didn't see because I'm not on social media. So the other issue that I wanted to bring up is this dramatic spike in the catalytic converter theft within our city limits. Starting in mid-October until now, there have been anywhere from 2 to 6 converter thefts every single week. So I would like to see this issue on the agenda next month. In particular, a report from SPD regarding what efforts are being made to deter these types of thefts. For example, is there any kind of a joint task force with Conroe, Oak Ridge, Montgomery County, or other areas that focus on the chop shops? I've read articles about some initiatives by police departments which offer free spray painting of the converters, and that seems to work as a deterrent. Crime is spiraling out of control throughout our nation, and I would like to see our city government actively engaged in combating that trend here. So thank you for your time. God bless the city, and God bless the police department.
Thank you, Esther.
Thank you, Esther.
Okay, and we're going to address this on the agenda item.
Okay, well, thank you. And as always, if you did not get a chance to sign up for the first Citizens Forum, we always have a second one. We'll move into council inquiry. Does anybody have anything right now? Nope. Okay, then we will move into one of my top 10 favorite items. Presentation of the monthly MDD report.
It's not as good as a new employee, I know, but, you know.
Or promotion.
Or promotion, yeah. All right, you can see on the report, our 4 new projects for MDD are well beyond their design phase now, getting ready to start up. The one that I particularly like is the Vision Park Deepen and Amenity, because we had a dual purpose with that one. So while we're working on David Memorial, the dirt that we remove from that project for deepening is going to be reused in the city of Shenandoah, and it's going to save us $600,000. So we've
Like that.
grouped that one together, so that's a good one. Our wastewater treatment water loan is set to be approved probably the first week of January. and we expect to get the funding by March. The ACP water lines are all completed in their design phases, and we are just waiting on an agreement with Memorial Hermann to finish up so that we can move on with those. Also, we have 3 projects that are slated for I-45 improvement intersection. They are awaiting stakeholder approval of funding. So those things are still being worked on, and hopefully we'll be moving forward as soon as folks approve all the dollars. And I think that hit the high points. There was no MDD meeting this month.
Does anybody have any questions for Ron about the report? No? All right, well, as always, thank you for the work you put into this, and thank you for MDD for taking care of these projects for us.
My pleasure.
With that, we will move on to item 8, which is discussion and possible action to award a contract for the Holly Hill Trails Park construction.
Mayor and Council, we recently had a bid opening for this project. We had 3 bidders on the project. They were all relatively close to each other in their bid numbers, the lowest and highest being within $100,000 of each other. Solid Bridge Construction was the low bidder. We've worked with Solid Bridge Construction on several city projects. They do a very good job, so we're happy to see that they were the low bidder, and that is going to be the recommendation, is to award the project to Solid Bridge for $389,902.40. You can see that in the agenda report there's going to be a bit of a surplus because they came in under the construction estimate. Now, a part of that will be needed for the pathway lighting. That was actually, we had so many vendors asking about that particular item, it was pulled out, so city staff is going to get that directly. And that's going to be about $33,000 for the pathway lighting, which leaves about $27,000 in surplus. My question that I'd like to present to the council is, would you have an interest in using that surplus to add some additional plantings, since that was kind of a discussion item? But you can discuss that. I don't know if that needs to be a part of the awarding, but I just wanted to throw that out there because there have been so much conversation about additional plantings, vegetation.
Would anybody like to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve and award the contract to Solid Bridge.
Second.
So I have a motion to approve and award the contract to Solid Bridge Construction by Councilman McLeod. I have a second by Councilman Fletcher. Do we have any discussion?
I guess my thought on the planting is MDD is the one providing the funding. I would bring it to them. I don't think it needs to be decided tonight.
We intend
No,
to provide this as an update to them next month. when
Yeah,
we have
so
a
I
regular
mean,
meeting.
I would, it's MDD's money, so I would see if they
Yeah, I
have
could
a-
see that. That could be a second. They could just follow back up with a
Exactly.
park improvement
I mean,
if they
it's-
wanted to
right.
for $30,000.
Well, the fact that the park hasn't been built yet, we don't know what the.
Right.
Right.
Rather than
I don't
spending
think-
the money,
yeah.
I think we should build the park.
Yeah.
right, exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
I know we approved extra money, but it's good to be possibly getting some of it back.
Right, that's right.
So thank you, Joseph.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 9, discussion and possible action to declare city equipment as surplus.
Mayor and Council, this is a routine item that needs to be orchestrated in order to declare items as surplus to then sell them or dispose of them. As you'll see in the agenda pack, Public Works has one item, a 2010 Falcon gooseneck trailer. This was the trailer that held the generator, and because of the recent capital project that we laid a concrete slab to put the generator on, we no longer need this trailer. There was also several police department items, mostly filing cabinets, and there was the traffic trailer and the 2 traffic signs. All items that are worth selling will be sold listed and sold.
Would somebody like to make a motion?
Make a motion that we declare them as surplus.
Second.
So I have a motion by Councilman Moscato. I got a second by Councilman Raymaker. Do we have any discussion? I'm going to assume we have a second trailer. This isn't our only trailer.
We have, we have several others.
Okay. Let's see. Okay.
As a-
Nice to have a trailer handy when you need one.
Yes, we have several others. We just didn't have a need for this one. It's-
Okay.
This is the one next to the generator set on, so have we started the construction to get the generator off?
It's finished.
It's all finished, beautiful. Very nice.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 10, discussion and possible action to adopt following ordinance. An ordinance of the City of Shenandoah, Texas, regulating temporary outside sales, including tent sales, providing for a penalty in the amount of $2,000 for violations thereof.
Council, as you recall, early in the year, we amended our outside sales ordinance to allow a kind of a test period for a farmer's market at the Metro Park inside that plaza, that internal area. So far, that's worked really well. They've kind of been, making some adjustments as they go to see what works, what people like, so forth. And then we came back to council mid-year, and we extended that beyond I think it was a 4-month pilot period, and we extended it through the end of this year. So that period will expire at the end of this month. What this ordinance does is removes that expiration date, so the terms otherwise are still the same. They're allowed up to 2 farmers markets per month. They may choose to do none, like if the weather is, it's 100 degrees or if it's really cold or something, they may feel like it's not a good time, but this would allow them to continue under the same terms up to 2 markets a month.
Do I have a motion?
I move that we extend the Metro Park Farmers Market ordinance for outside sales.
Second.
Let me clarify that. We're not necessarily extending an ordinance, we are approving an ordinance that will remove the expiration
So I'll
date.
reread that. So I move that we extend the Metro Parks Farmers Market by amending the ordinance for outside sales.
Okay. So I have a motion to approve the ordinance by Councilman Fletcher. I have a second by Councilman Scotto. Do we have any discussion?
So Kathy, on this, so we have obviously an outside vendor that comes in.
Yes, sir.
Is it always the same staff members that come in, or is it different staff members for that vendor?
I don't know if the vendor rotates staff often. I do know that there have been some staff changes recently with the vendor and with the Moon Group. So, John works with them every month to, get the details lined out. I know that this past market, they put out a bunch of signs and we've asked them not to, so.
I know that we had that problem back in October, I want to say, sometime
Yeah.
in that time frame. That's why I asked if it's somebody new that's coming in, if it's the same people, or that's really the only downside that I see to this are those signs they put up that are so redundant that, it's just a bit much, and it's not something I think represents us well, especially when you look at our sign ordinance and, everything that says is no. So, everything that they put out is a no. So I don't know if there's a way that we can enforce that greater than what we have with them. I know it's just, one day, twice a month, and like you say, sometimes it's once a month, sometimes not at all. So I think at this point, if there's a way that, it's not our agreement, it's Metro Parks' agreement, obviously, but I think we need to let them know that, we've given them grace several times, and the next time the signs come out like that, it won't be grace, and they're going to end up with a fine.
Well, we have reminded them before.
I'm saying I think reminders are over.
Right.
I think we need to let them know one more time that this is not acceptable, and when it happens, we need to hit them with a fine. It's gone past the mark of, grace at this point. And, you know, sometimes when you go past so much and there's no action,
Right.
then people just continue to take advantage, so.
I think it will help on our part, instead of reacting after they do it, to talk to them in advance of the
Absolutely.
market.
And that's what I'm
And-
saying, is if we can let them know,
Right.
this is your last warning, if you come back out with all those signs again, then this is what the consequence is going to be.
Right, and they could risk not having the market anymore. So we don't want that to happen.
I would, what the ordinance says, you hit them with the fine and move on. I don't think we need to threaten them with not having the market, because I think the market's a good thing for our city, but they need to abide by rules that are within that agreement.
Right, okay.
I tend to agree. I'd like to propose that Bill draft a letter to all three parties and tell them that the ordinance says that you cannot have that type of off-premise sign or bandit signs or whatever you want to call them.
Be happy to.
I'd like to see that as part of the,
When do they normally set up for the market?
John may know better than I do. I'm going to say it's the morning of. They're very good about picking them up quickly after the market.
How early, John, in the morning do they typically?
They typically get over there between 8 and 9 or 10 o'clock market.
Troy, that's probably a good opportunity maybe to even have some PD, just kind of show up for some coaching. You know, I think if they saw a presence while they were setting up, that probably would make them think about it a little bit more. And you probably only have to do it the first couple of times, right? Pretty soon they get the hint that okay, they're keeping an eye on this. Might not be a bad idea if we had the, ability to.
Now, are they allowed to have signs like right there by the opening of Metro Park?
The ordinance provides for up to 2 banners with a pretty significant lead time to put those up.
two
But,
sandwich signs as well, Kathy, right?
Right, and they can have internal signs that are only visible in that plaza. Their sign ordinance provides for some internal banners inside that development. So those are allowed, but the ordinance does not speak to bandit signs.
Yeah, I'd kind of like to see that they're allowed in a certain spot, so that, I mean, it's in our best interest to have them be successful and to draw attention. So maybe if we can just kind of limit to where it is, like really close to where their entrance is, just to draw attention to that, and not get so overzealous like they did this last time.
And we can modify the ordinance to specify that if council would like us to do
Because
that.
I'm okay with the sign, but just right there.
Right.
Right, I agree. All the way,
You have
all the way
something to add?
down.
All I was gonna say is we have, as Kathy said, I was gonna reiterate what she said, it's the 2 3x7 vinyl banners that we put basically at the entrance to Metro Park near the the digital board and sign there. And then we also had another one that was at Sam Moon entrance. And that's where I think once before, there was some discussion as to whether or not those signs, to Ron's point, could be allowed between those 2 entrances. Specifically, as Kathy had said, that's the place that seems to make sense, because as people are coming into Metro Park, if they don't see it, aren't aware, they can always turn into Sam Moon and get to it from either side. That's really the only logical place and where that would make sense for people to see and be able to get in and take advantage of, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think starting down at Home Depot and working all the way up is inappropriate.
No.
I don't have a problem with them having it on their property, but I don't think they need to have 100 of them either.
Right. It's like political signs.
Correct.
100 of them's not going to make you vote any more one way or the other.
No.
But we'll add those specifics to the ordinance for the mayor to sign.
Yeah, that's just another question. So we basically, and I understand it's Metro Park, and we were trying to kind of kickstart them and get people into the development, and basically saying, well, now you can have outside sales in this little region of Shenandoah as long as you're willing to cooperate with this one group. How do we handle the rest of the outside sales? We've got some ordinances that allow for some temporary outside sales, right? And the reason we needed this ordinance Remind me again, was.
This ordinance was
This allows more
tailored,
frequent, right?
slightly more frequent, but tailored more because they have that inside
Sure.
square. And so our other talks about sidewalks
Right.
and more anticipates a
Yeah.
sidewalk sale. So
Exactly.
when you read it, the ordinance, you have 4 feet of sidewalk and this. So this one's tailored to that particular area.
So have we had any questions from other vendors about, using parts of their parking lots?
Not that I'm
We don't,
aware of.
we don't use the parking lot for
Right.
sales, yeah.
I know that years ago, the Woodlands Car Club did a show on the weekend at Portofino.
Right.
And Portofino did not like giving up all that parking space, so they were not interested in it that time. But to my knowledge, we
Yeah.
haven't had any other requests.
Yeah, and I agree with everyone else. I'm not even a big fan of the banners. I think the vinyl banners kind of create a cheapened look. My one concern is having farmers markets twice a month sort of reduces the special feel. And it gets to be this routine outside event. So the signs, I think we're all concerned about that. It's minimize that visual pollution, but also wonder how routine that's going to affect things. So.
I know so far initially when we first started talking to them about this, they wanted to do it twice a month, but they've only done it once so far.
Well, that was actually what I
Yeah.
was thinking was once a month might be enough. With, kind of keep that special sense that it's, hey, this is farmer's market weekend, or however you want to phrase it.
But would you like for us to modify the ordinance and bring it back?
I mean,
Ted's motion.
Is it?
it's Ted, yeah, it's
Ted's
Ted's motion.
Yeah, I would say that from my perspective, I don't think I would want to modify, I wouldn't want to modify an ordinance yet that limited how many times they were doing it until we have that conversation with them, and, I would say that may be a separate conversation,
Okay.
just my opinion.
Well, and I think based upon what we know about their change in personnel at Sam Moon, they got started, they kind of had 1 or 2, they were working out some bugs, then they had a change of personnel, they missed a month or 2. So I think we're still in the learning stage on
I
this.
would agree. Yeah, I would agree with that.
I'm comfortable with leaving the motion the way it is.
Okay. We will add the sign
But
provision.
we got to put
It
the
gives them
sign
that,
stuff in.
well, we do have to add the signage part, and I can amend it. I'm in the motion to add verbiage regarding the signage.
Okay.
Who seconded it?
Second.
What
Um,
verbiage? What verbiage?
Well, Bill's gonna come up with the verbiage. So the number of signs that are allowed on Sam Moon property or on Metro Park and Sam Moon.
Maybe we table this until we have the verbiage.
I'm a nay right now.
If it's as simple as allowing X
I'm
number.
comfortable with Bill coming up with the verbiage. I mean, I think unless we want to talk about limit the number of signs, I mean.
Right now, they're limited to 2.
Well, they currently have two banners that are allowed.
That's
Two,
within the ordinance, yes.
correct, and 2 sidewalk signs.
And the rest are bandit signs and yes, and have to be gone.
And those aren't in the ordinance currently.
Correct.
But we're talking about allowing a certain number of banner signs, bandit signs on their property only. Is that what I'm hearing?
Only they won't be
No
bandits because they'll
bandit
be
signs.
allowed.
They won't be bandit signs because they'll be specific as far as like a yard sign or political sign.
I think the
And
question
would-
is how many.
I would say, in my opinion, and, obviously up for discussion for everybody, but, you're talking 100 yards there. If they had 10 signs that were the same size as a political sign, I don't necessarily see that as a problem.
Okay.
What they've had out has been, 30 to 50 signs, and it's been way too much.
I think any of those style, I find all those, that style of sign, I don't like the vinyl banners, and I don't really care for the little bandit signs. And call them, you know, but I know they're not bandit because
Right.
if we
Yard sign.
if we
We call
legally,
it a
if we
yard
yard sign, if we legally allow them, they're not bandit, but
Will be a yard sign.
the little yard sign, that whole style is not.
Well, just because it's a special event, I mean, if it was
Well,
something
that's
that
my
was out
point
there.
is, if it's twice a month, it's kind of not, it kind of ceases to be a special event. I mean, if it was once a quarter, you know, but twice a month,
And I think
Well,
we're
as-
sending the wrong message to other businesses.
and that's another concern, yeah.
Well, I think you have two different venues, and that's why I'm probably more accepting of this venue than a parking lot.
Sure.
This
Because
this
it's-
venue was pretty much kind of created for this type of an event. And I think adds well to the community overall. I haven't heard any negatives about the event itself. The only negative feedback that I've gotten from residents has been signs. But as far as the event, I've heard nothing but positives from residents.
Okay,
So go ahead.
so let's clean this up a little bit. We have a motion by Councilman Fletcher to approve the ordinance to add language about signs.
Yard signs. So we would keep the existing signs that we have.
Keep the
two
existing
banners,
signs that
the
we
two
have,
sandwich signs.
and allow for
Allow up to 10 yard
up
signs.
to 10. Do we want to specify size?
I'll put the size,
Specify size, okay.
Same size as a
um,
political sign.
correct.
On the, and we want to
Limited
specify
to-
on the I-45 frontage road on their property,
On their
Sam
property.
Moon
On their
and
property.
Metro Park.
Okay.
And we had a second by Councilman Escada. We had a lot of discussion. Any more discussion? We pretty much, we're there?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
All right.
Any opposed?
Nay.
After all that, motion fails.
All right.
Motion to table until we get the actual verbiage.
I have a new motion by Councilman Raymaker to table. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Councilman McLeod. Do we have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Nay.
We have a motion to table approved 3-2. All right. Bill, if you'll maybe redraft some language for us and just bring that back to the January meeting and we'll
Yes.
take a look at that again. Thank you, sir. Move on to item 11, which is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Shenandoah providing for the reappointment to fill positions of the place of 2, place 3, and place 4 on the Shenandoah Planning and Zoning Commission.
Council, this is a routine matter. We've got 3 members of P&Z whose terms are up, and they're eligible to continue serving. Steve C. took over the unexpired term for Mr. Escado when he joined council, and that term was due to expire at the end of this year, so that's where we are. All 3 gentlemen have been contacted, and they are willing to continue serving. So that's the purpose of this resolution.
Make a motion, we adopt a resolution to approve the reappointment of the,
Second.
fill those positions.
I have a motion by Councilman Brought to approve. I have a second by Councilman Raymaker. Do we have any discussion?
Thank them for their service.
Absolutely.
And really appreciate the fact that they're willing to continue to serve in this capacity.
I understand they're all doing a great job, too.
They are.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 12, discussion and possible action to approve revisions to the policy manual.
Council, these are a few minor revisions to the policy. You are aware of 2 of them. One of the discussions that came up earlier this year, last year, was if we are in a position with the police department where there's an opening, a ranking position that needs to be filled, and we don't have an internal candidate that's ready to take over that role, council didn't want their hands tied by a policy that restricts taking resumes from the outside. So that was the origin of that. This provision in the policy was added June, July of 2017, and we're not sure why, but I know that that's the backstory to the change. Council was never opposed to internal promotions, but providing for that possible circumstance where there's a position and there's not a candidate that's ready.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, the police manual, policy manual was different than the city policy manual, so this will now mirror the two, correct?
And this policy overrides. This is
Right.
the law of the land right here.
Yeah, the second one, what Mr. Orzak raised was about stating the reason for an employee's termination. He is correct that we get a number of open record requests for employee files when they're looking for new work. And staff thought it is better to protect the privacy of a worker who's been terminated. Otherwise, what happens is someone who's going to be terminated, there's an effort to document the file quite a bit, and we really don't want to be in a position of stating employee X did this wrong, that wrong, that wrong, that wrong, that wrong is why they're terminated. It would make it difficult perhaps for them to find another job. And it's not required under Texas law, and I don't think it's fair to hinder someone getting another job.
Presents a little bit of liability for us as well, additional liability.
It could, yes, it could.
And third, the holiday policy, as we discussed at the November meeting, the changes are reflected in the list of holidays and the number of holidays.
So is there a reason why we also skipped out on the dismissal, the effective date, and the right to appeal?
The dismissal date, I don't know why that's.
I mean, that should be.
That will
be
be in there. That's a matter of public record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why that's marked out, so.
Yeah. The appeal part is, the appeal would go to the city administrator, and frankly, in this city with so few employees, the city administrator's who actually makes the decision to terminate, so.
And just so a procedural part of this, if an employee is terminated, there's a form that we use. In fact, if they leave for whatever reason, voluntary or not, we have a form that lists the date, their PTO payout, the last day of their final pay, details like that they get a copy of, they sign, their supervisor signs, I sign, etc. So there is documentation of those basic items.
So I guess I'm looking here, and this is part of our policy, but you just told me there is written notification, but we just marked that out. That there's a different piece of our document, or our policy document, that states that they're going to receive written notification of things like COBRA and all those other documents. Is that anywhere in our policy manual other than in this location that we're getting ready to redline?
Not in the policy manual itself, but we notify them about COBRA, TMRS, if they want to take that out or leave it in, etc. So they're given all the information that they need when they leave the city. It's just, it's not in the policy. But it is a matter of practice.
So the other side of that, and are we going to go to discussion, or do I need to make a motion?
Yeah, we probably need to make a motion at some point.
So I would move that we would approve the revisions as submitted.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve by Councilman Fletcher. We have a second by Councilman McLeod. We're going to continue discussion.
So the other side of that is a concern that I would have as an employer, if we're not documenting why we're terminating them, and so then we get a TWC claim that comes in, are we not going to have documentation to support our decision, or are we just going to let our unemployment insurance just continue to rise?
Well, there will be documentation in the file. Rarely, there are circumstances when an employee gets terminated on the spot, if you maybe were stealing or something, but anyone that looked in the file would see there had been employee counseling, another employee counseling, another employee counseling. But the only, we would probably document, we would document in some way if it was something that would prohibit you from getting unemployment compensation such as theft.
I mean, because if it's for misconduct, then we need to document that.
Yeah,
someplace
we
to
would
file,
document,
so-
but.
Because we know that's what's gonna happen, they're gonna file unemployment insurance, so we're gonna have to be able to support.
Correct. We're not going to not do that, but as a matter of routine, very few employees are terminated for reasons that are
Right.
that severe.
I mean, they show up habitually late.
Yeah.
Is that something that we wouldn't want to put in here?
Well, again,
This isn't
So I just-
saying that we can't put it in there.
Correct.
This is saying that we
what
don't have
what
to
you
every
would
single time.
what you would have in that situation is if you looked in the employee file, you would see. I'll pick on Joseph. Joseph would have put
He's
in the
late all
file that Joseph would have put in the file, Charlie has been late for 2 or 3 weeks, and he's been counseled about being on time. And then there might be a second one. But if you wanted to dig into an employee file, you could probably discern why. Versus, here's a big old good right in front of you statement, and the temptation is.
I understand it. I've been around long enough.
Yeah.
I haven't seen one yet where you couldn't glean why.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I hope, that's what I'm saying, I hope that by making this change, that we're not gonna prevent, you know, what we need to support on the other side of that, to create and support a claim for misconduct at the same time.
I mean, if we have employee misconduct like that, it will be documented. That's a little bit different than this policy of, the way this policy is written is the day you're terminated, I have to give you something in writing that lists the reasons, and that's what we're trying to eliminate.
So apart from the verbal dismissal, you wouldn't be giving him a pink slip, you wouldn't be giving him a.
You would not give him an
You might,
official
you're just not
document
required
You're
that,
not required to do it.
yes, that's right.
So how does it affect, again, employees' rights in terms of, oh, you're terminated? Okay, a verbal termination, like, don't come to work tomorrow because you're terminated. That's how we're handling business now?
No.
But again, with
No, it will
nothing
be
in writing.
it will be in writing that you've been terminated. They just won't say for the following reasons.
Okay.
And as mentioned before, if there's an ongoing problem that's not resolved, that'll be documented, progressive discipline, whether it's a write-up or a verbal counseling or that sort of thing. And the form that we use doesn't say you were fired for stealing or whatever, it just says termination.
I guess I would just scratch out number 1 there, and then this stuff on the bottom. You know, effective date, I know we don't have really a right to appeal, but maybe effective date and whatever that, you know, the various documentation you need. That makes sense. The COBRA and, I don't know, how you would, what's the verbiage for rights and benefits or last paycheck information or
Exit
something like that.
package,
Yeah,
maybe
we can.
exit package.
Exit.
Mhm.
And we can certainly modify this to reflect what we do
Yeah,
as a matter of
I guess
practice.
that's my,
Yeah.
again, if an employee's hired here, they're going, oh, I can be reading this with marked out what we said, I can be verbally terminated, and that's it. That's the entire notice, is nothing in writing, nothing has to be in writing, right? That's.
No, I mean,
Nothing has to be in writing.
Nothing has to
To
be-
the employee,
yeah,
right? But there would be something in the record.
yes.
We want our employees knowing that they can be terminated verbally with nothing in writing.
I don't mind putting in that you be, I don't have a problem putting in there that the termination notice will be in writing. The issue,
what I'm talking about,
the
yeah.
issue we had was the reasons for the dismissal.
And I'm okay with that.
And in private industry, you don't need a reason.
Correct.
No, that's
Yeah.
exactly
So,
right.
In the
we
state.
don't wanna
Well,
go,
yeah.
I wouldn't wanna go overboard on this
Not always.
one. The whole purpose of right to work is that we don't have to state a reason, period.
Right, I mean, I can add, we'll add back in writing, that's not a problem.
I think that if we have faith in our city administrator and our department heads, that they are going to manage the staff effectively, and then what we don't need to do is handcuff them with a laundry list of requirements that they have to follow 100% of the time because it's in the policy manual. What I would rather is allow them the ability to have a best practice that they do, and then the flexibility to where when they realize that, hey, this is maybe not a good idea to put in writing for either that employee or maybe the city. We may not want to admit that in writing that we even know about this, but we're going to terminate this employee because we're not going to tolerate it, but the last thing I want to do is put it in writing. I mean, unfortunately,
No, again,
unfortunately for those of us in the business world, that happens. Sometimes you just don't want to put it in writing. And so,
No, I just don't want an employee to be verbally terminated with nothing on paper.
why?
Just walk in and go, you can't work here anymore.
When someone's terminated, they're gonna know why.
I was just about to say,
Yeah.
people fire themselves. And if we don't think that, then we probably don't have the right city administrator and the right department heads.
Right.
I mean, that's the reality of it. Either we have faith that they can manage the staff, or then we need to revisit that. But the reality of it is, people fire themselves 99% of the time.
All the time.
Okay, and there's another area of the policy that says, under certain conditions, an employee can be fired on the spot without progressive discipline if it's a serious enough offense.
That's right, yeah,
So-
right. There are zero tolerance
Right.
issues.
And I agree with you, Mayor, and especially with, current administration and department heads. My concern would be, the opposite of that. In which we, as a city, we've had to suffer through before. And since this is in our policy manual, I like the verbiage of best practices, but giving the leeway or freedom for the city administrator to have that flexibility. But you're absolutely right, people fire themselves all the time. They know exactly why they're being fired. They've been given the opportunity to make corrections, unless it's, a huge ethical issue of stealing or whatever. But I think what I'd like to do is amend my motion to this section in specific, the 1307 dismissal. I'd like to approve the other two if we can separate them out.
I'll second that.
And then bring this section 3 back, table it to January, and bring it back with different verbiage.
Can we talk about number 1 first, though, the recruitment and selection, before we modify anything? Because,
Yeah, we're still in discussion. Go ahead.
yeah, I think that we should leave that in. I think it's a good retention tool for PD to give your staff the option to do that, and for them to rely on the fact that we're looking to promote from within. Now, it's incumbent on us to groom people and have a succession plan that says that for these key positions, and groom these people to be ready to take on that responsibility. It's not like, oh, well, we didn't start working with you to get you ready for the new job. We kind of know who's ready and who's not ready, and I think we should identify that and work with those folks that are ready to take up a responsibility, so that when that time does come, that they're ready to act, and we can still do that promotion from within.
So by making this change, Bill, to scratch required internal promotions, does that automatically mean that we have to go out? And seek
That's
No.
my concern.
No, because if you look at,
additional candidates, or?
no, if you look at requirements for job posting, it's the same as in the city policy manual. All positions, including internal promotions, transfers, and new hires will be posted for a minimum of 14 days before the opening is filled. So it's not preventing us from
Continuing to promote.
promote.
Correct, yes. I believe the mayor's reading that correctly.
Okay.
It gives you the option of either.
So initially, we'll give our own staff 14 days to apply.
Yes, sir.
And make that selection, and then if there is nobody that applies, or we don't make that selection, then we can go out.
Then we can go outside.
No, I
Correct.
want to see a commitment to succession. That
That's
we-
what I
that
wanna
we've got-
see.
That we've got folks that we're working with. I mean, if we didn't have this type of policy, is Jake still here? He might have said, hey, they're gonna go looking outside right away. And so it's kind of a commitment to our folks who are here already that we know the book on them. We know if we want them or not, but if we didn't want everybody that was left on the force, that would be just sad. But we need to be encouraging folks to take the next step.
The problem is the word required.
Right.
That's
Right.
it. That's what's handcuffed us in the past.
And if you look at our,
So,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Kathy.
No, I was just going to say, if you look at our management team, a lot of our staff, we've had a lot of internal promotions, and it's gone well. So we always look for that opportunity.
So what if we change number 1 there, recruitment and selection, and remove the word required, and then put, and then keep internal promotions, and maybe add, internal promotions are preferred.
Primary, yeah.
Okay?
However, it doesn't lock us into having to take an internal promotion. I agree. I'm big on promoting those that have stepped up and, make a difference where they're at. And often it's a lot better for morale to promote from within than it is to bring somebody new in that hasn't worked with the team. It can't create a lot of other issues, but at the same time, I think that maybe if we just remove that word required and put internal promotions are preferred, or if there's a better word than.
I actually like the word preferred. I think it sends a message.
So maybe we just strike that. We just strike out required and then just add the word internal promotions preferred for advancement.
I'll second that.
And I think that's particularly true of the police department, that it is
Yeah.
preferred, because they know the culture, the people, et cetera. Would you like us to bring both of these policies back just for final approval?
Yeah, I think it.
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
So
You can approve the holiday.
Yeah, we can take
So
care of the holiday.
I'll amend my motion to approve 801 holiday leave as submitted, and if you want to bring the other 2 back, that'd be great.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Councilman Fletcher. I have a second by Councilman McLeod. Do we have any more discussion?
Anything you want to add to that, Mayor?
No, I go back to when it wasn't a requirement in the city, we promoted Lisa, we promoted our city administrator Kathy.
Correct.
I mean, Troy was internally promoted even if it was a part of the policy in the police, so was Jake. If you have the right staff, then you don't have to require them to be handcuffed, and we have the right staff. I don't want to over-litigate, so.
I don't either.
And look, there may come a time later on where the city doesn't have the right staff anymore. It'll be up to that council at that time to make those decisions. But we're not here to over-litigate either, so. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 3-2. Okay, we'll move on to item 13, discussion and possible action to ratify the accounts payable for November 2021.
Motion we approve?
I have a motion by Councilman Brought.
Second.
I have a second by Councilman Fletcher. Do we have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Brings us to our non-action items.
Council, you can see listed on your agenda the purchase orders over $15,000 that were approved in the budget. The skid loader for $34,458, the police Tahoe and equipment for $69,510, the Vision Park expansion engineering $134,410, and the Research Force lift station phase 2 engineering for $23,550.
Thank you, Kathy. Anybody have any questions on any of those? Okay, we will move to our second citizens forum. I did not have anybody sign up to speak, but would anybody like to speak? Yes, of course, come on up.
Esther Lum, 31 South Emory Bend. I'm just a little troubled by this discussion about the termination policy. We need transparency. And what I don't like, and maybe what you haven't considered, is when you say that you can give them no reason. What we're seeing happen in this country right now, people are fired because they won't get the vaccine. They won't wear a mask. Or any number of things, or they don't like what you post on social media. We have to be accountable, and for those kinds of what could be arbitrary decisions by city staff. And with all due respect, the people, it's the taxpayers who are paying city staff. So yes, they're running the day-to-day operations, but in terms of liability and exposure, it cuts both ways, whether you have something in writing or not. So I don't buy that argument that, oh, we're cutting down our liability exposure because we don't put something in writing. That's just not true. And I think that we need to have accountability. And if people are going to be fired, they need to know why. That's just a strong feeling of mine. And I appreciate some of the things that I heard, in that direction, but I think that to just say we put all this trust in the city, it's not even about that in some ways, because when you have a high turnover, you got to train people. It's expensive. And one thing I didn't hear, and I don't know because I just haven't spent the time to research it, but what is our turnover rate in the city? How many employees are we talking about? And, that should be something we think about, because every time you fire somebody, you got to hire them and then train somebody else. And so there are other costs involved. And that's really all I had to say.
Thank you, Esther. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, well then we will move into item 16, which is our city administrator updates.
Council, I've just got a quick one. I just wanted to talk about Lighting of the Angels. It was a great event. We had a great turnout, got a lot of positive feedback. I regret that I was away at training and had to miss it, but I've heard nothing but good things about the event. So it's great to see in the almost post-COVID world, people returning to our events in higher numbers. So very positive thing. Our next event coming up is the Polar Bear Plunge in January. And then soon after we have the Easter egg hunt, one of the mayor's favorite events.
Yes, it is.
And that's all I've got.
Okay, we will move into council inquiry, and we will start with Councilman McLeod.
Anything? It's great. I guess I do have something. It was a great event. I did get to go. Lighting the Angels was fantastic. Really appreciate the Civic Club, all the effort that was put out. Just got rave reviews, had people talking about it, coming up to me in the days that followed and talking about how wonderful it was. So just want to thank Civic Club and everybody who pitched in to help out with that.
And if I can chime in also, I'd like to thank Debbie for taking the lead. She did a lot of the heavy lifting on this event, the ordering, the purchasing, coordinating, etc. And also Mr. Ballmer is here with us. He was a huge help with that event too, as well as several others.
Councilman Brock?
Good.
Good?
Nothing.
So I was going to say the same thing. Debbie, you did a phenomenal job just stepping up and organizing Civic Club the way that you did, and the event as a whole was such a huge success. I've had many neighbors come to me and tell me what a wonderful time that they had this year. And that also goes out to Public Works, because I know Public Works has stepped in to help a ton in that project as well. And so great job. Again, can't give enough praise to Deb and organizing the Civic Club that she did, and of course all the Civic Club volunteers that came out to help and assist. And I think it speaks volumes when we're able to invite people that we work with and strategize with to help move our city forward. And it doesn't make it a political event, but it makes it an event in which they can come in and kind of take their hat off or let their hair down. I say hat off for Charlie Riley. But just allows them to come in and really get to know some of our neighbors and what really makes Shenandoah what it is. That's a great event to have them out. And unlike the rhetoric that was on Facebook about how this was going to be political speech after political speech, that's just ludicrous. This event has never been designed, and any event that we have in the city has never been designed for a political use, and I don't think ever will be. So again, I just want to shout out to staff and what a fantastic job they did in making it such a great success. We heard a lot about transparency tonight from a couple of residents, and I just want to identify that, you know, under this administration, we have moved to be so transparent in comparison to anything that the city has ever seen. The transparency level is real. It's not smoke and mirrors. You can step in and see anything that you want. You can call in to set up an appointment and not only meet with staff, but also meet with, you know, staff will call in, you know, our third-party vendors if we need to bring them in. Pretty much be an open book. I hear the concern of transparency. I hear the concern of accountability. And I could tell you that, you know, when it comes to accountability and transparency, that was one of the reasons that I got involved with Counsel. And I'm sure it's one of the primary reasons that each of the 5 gentlemen that you see up here got involved with Counsel. And when we first came in, yeah, we had a big problem. We were losing 21 employees a year, and that's a huge turnover rate. I don't think we've had more than 4 or 5 employees lost at any one time, at any year, during the last 5. So as far as being transparent and accountable, kick the tires a little bit deeper and just don't hear the rhetoric that you see on Facebook. You want to talk more about it? You call me, you call the mayor, you call any one of these councilmen, our city administrator, chief of police, public works director. Anybody would be happy to sit down and talk with you about any concern or question that you have. And in this city in the last 6 years, prior to that, it wasn't all that easy. So I commend our staff. You guys do a phenomenal job in moving us and continuing to move us forward and being transparent and keeping one another accountable, including us, and vice versa. I know that this council here talks to staff all the time and keeps staff accountable for decisions that are made each and every day. So it's a good working team. I'll end with that and just say Merry Christmas to everybody. Have a Happy New Year, and we'll see you next year.
Councilman, that was a lot to follow.
Sorry. Yeah.
I'll kind of, you know, go on with the lighting of the angels as well. And I don't think that the line for the hot chocolate and the cider ever subsided once the event started all the way until 8 o'clock. It was just line after line, and I had to wait until like 5 minutes to 8 before I got in the line to try to get some. And I think that is a credit to this council that we have so many officials that show up. They work with us all the time, and so I'm glad that they're there and supportive of us, and that's why they're there. They're not there just to, you know, just to be seen. You know, they're interacting with us, and we're happy to have them all the time. And also with Ted, you know, the rhetoric about the turnover was so high prior. Kathy, I don't know if you've got the current figure, but I can guarantee you that nobody has been terminated who didn't absolutely deserve it at this point in time. So lastly, just wanted to congratulate Troy on being appointed to the Legislative Committee of TCPA. So congratulations, Troy. That deserves an applause. And with that, have a Merry Christmas. Thanks.
Did we have any other members of the police department that did anything recently that we need to talk about?
No, I will add that, Troy, did you want to go ahead and? I thought you were about to speak, sorry.
No, go ahead. I'd love to say a few things or two.
Well, I'll let you go then. You probably have more details than I do.
Well, as far as, I would like to, I don't know if y'all saw, it was put out, Montgomery County did put out, that we were part of a task force with Montgomery County Sheriff's Department, as well as numerous other agencies, and we made several arrests in that task force, and it was specifically for Catalytic converter thefts and stuff, but our arrests were made for warrants and stuff, but we have been taking action, so a part of that. But no, we've been doing some training with TPCA, and we've had chief of police from, they've been chief of police from various agencies. Some of them have come from Austin PD, and they came down to do some training, and they wanted to commend our police department and our guys, and they appreciated and respected our guys, and the communication we had with them. They really, really respected our guys.
Didn't we have some officers, though, help a resident?
They did. There was a call the other night, I believe it was over the weekend, and we had a couple of officers. The man was unconscious, not breathing, and we had a couple of officers perform CPR until EMS arrived. So they do a whole lot that we don't always hear about. So
Basically saved his life, in other words.
Well, for the time being, he did end up.
But if it weren't for them showing up when they did, you know, to get him to that point, I mean, I guess my point is like you said, Kathy, we hear a lot about, you know, well, they don't spend enough time in the neighborhoods, and I mean, I think this is a perfect example of that they're here for us to help us and protect us, and when we call, they show up quickly, and I can't say thank you enough for that.
right.
I tell you just a quick story. This morning, I was actually on my way to work, and I passed Officer Friend parked out by a stop sign. And so I stopped to say hi to him like I normally do. And he was there because we got a complaint from a resident that there was this one particular person who continued to blow through a stop sign. And so he went and checked it out. Sure enough, person blew through the stop sign, and he was able to pull him over. And so my point is you know, talk about acting fast on a request from a resident. You know that that I don't know that too many cities. I can promise you can't go down to Houston and call the Houston Police Department and somebody's running a stop sign. Will you come park next to the stop sign for us? It's not going to happen. So I think sometimes that our residents, some very few, can be the vocal minority can be loud and maybe skew the message. But I, for one, appreciate the fact that our guys and gals on the police department force are always looking out for the residents. I appreciate the fact that you look out for our businesses too. Don't get me wrong, but I appreciate the fact that you look out for our neighborhoods and our residents. I will say on the lighting of the angels, it was absolutely my favorite one so far. I missed the first lighting of the angels when I was mayor. What came to them before being mayor. My very first lighting of the angels as mayor, I was actually on my way. I was on my way here, and I got a phone call from my wife, and she said, "I'm on the way to the emergency room with Jacob. I just wanted to let you know that we won't be able to meet you at the lighting of the angels." I think at that time we were doing them at 6 instead of well, we did it 6 this year too. Maybe we did it earlier, maybe I just had to show up early. At any rate, I said, well, I guess I'll be going to the emergency room too then. So I went to the emergency room because at school, somehow or another, a friend has slammed a gate on him and it split his forehead open and he had to go get stitches. So that's the only lighting of the angels I've missed as married. And progressively each year it's gotten better. And Miss Debbie, I got to tell you, y'all outdid yourselves this year. I mean, I really honestly just stood back and thought, man, this is awesome. You know, I mean, it really was cool. And it was amazing to me how many people, how many residents after the fact came up and said something to me at different times about how much fun it was, how incredible it was, how neat it was that we did this. We even had some of your family there, as well as some folks that are just friends that wanted to come and see what it was all about because they'd heard about it. I can't emphasize enough that these type of events are what make Shenandoah Shenandoah. We've just, I cannot put enough emphasis on the legacy that we need to continue to create these going forward. It's what separates our city from just any other city. It makes us a community. It makes us neighbors. It brings us together. We get the chance to mingle with staff and police department and residents and strategic partners. I noticed that Jennifer was there. Unfortunately, I think maybe somebody backed into her car. I couldn't tell if I saw that or not as I was passing by on the train. I was like, was that Jennifer's car they just backed into? So I hate that for her if that's what happened. But and then like Councilman Fletcher said, you have county and state elected officials that show up because they want to be part of our community. They want to spend time with the residents, and that's a really cool thing. So, you know, my charge to future councils will be keep making them bigger and better, because that's what's going to make us different. So, and then lastly, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. You know, it's I can't believe this is our last one of the year, but next time we all meet, it'll be 2022. Won't be until January. So, everybody have a fun and safe holiday season, and spend time with some family and friends, decompress a little bit, and then come back in January ready to make this place even better. That's what we do.
That comes from all the council.
That's right.
Yes.
Okay, so with that, we will recess the regular session and move into executive session at 8:13. We are going to discuss potential purchase of real property and pilot agreements. Thanks so much for coming tonight, everybody.
Cookies.
They breed.
Goodness. This is not labeled.
I think it's from Courtney.
Courtney, where does cookies come from? Courtney? Where does cookies come from?
I honestly don't know. They were on Kathy's list too, so I'm not sure.
So somebody snuck in here while you were performing security.
That's right. Talk to the cops,
While you
man.
were sleeping.
They clearly did not know that anybody was in the building.
So we have a suspect cookie.
Suspect cookie.
Y'all can take a bite first.
I'll eat it, let you know what
It's
happens.
been sitting in my chair.
Hey, who threw the, Chris? Who brought those cookies? Oh, yeah, who brought those cookies? I don't know. It has like a,
I took one out of my box.
So nobody knows where the
y'all,
cookies
and then
came
y'all
from.
all got boxes too.
Yeah.
Which is
Oh, that was-
okay, because I don't need
Brett's
that.
bad. I don't know.
Okay.
We're like,
So you should
Where's the
order
one
one
cookie
right
come
now.
from? That's what I, so I took,
There were
there was a tin in there, so I gave each of you a cookie.
The box of cookies.
That's true, they are individually wrapped.
Parties.
But you can do that at
No,
home.
no, I don't need, I've still got.
He doesn't want the voice.
Yeah, about to say, we don't need that much pepper.
Yeah, I'll let,
I'm probably bringing
I'll
my
let
box
David
up to
know.
school.
Actually, he's like, who's that council member who crashed who gave you crap?
Just remember who gave you mashed
Pardon?
Just remember who gave you mashed
Okay, we will adjourn executive session and resume the regular meeting at 9:10. For the record, no action was taken. Does anybody have anything else before we wrap up for tonight?
I'd like to make a motion that we direct the city attorney to enter into a contract to purchase the 2.44 acres off of David Memorial, and then authorize the mayor to sign the
So-
contract
For $79,000.
for $79,000, I'm sorry.
So we have a motion by Councilman Brock to approve the to allow the city attorney to enter into a contract to purchase property that I will sign the contract for. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Councilman Moscato. Do we have any discussion? Just to state for the record, the $79,000 is the appraised value of the property. So we will be purchasing the property at the appraised value for $79,000.
Actually, the appraised value was $79,800.
$79,885, that's correct. So we're actually purchasing it under appraised value. Good point. $79,000, obviously plus closing costs.
Plus clothing costs, yes.
Okay, if there's no more discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1 to authorize the city attorney to enter into that contract. Anything else for the night? Okay, well, with that then, we will adjourn the meeting at 9:11. And